Welcome to Nuanced Beauty. This podcast is intended to be a spot where my husband Bill and I will capture some complex thoughts and challenge us to hold to our opinions loosely so that we can see the beauty in others and the beauty in ourselves. I want to challenge us to dive deeper into those everyday topics and those sticky topics that we might shy away from, or we might bulldoze over others with our opinions. Because I think there's wisdom in this idea that if we all thought exactly the same, there would be no need for anyone else. So let's have a conversation and let's get nuanced.
Take three.
Take three. Hi guys.
Hey everybody.
Welcome back to Nuanced Beauty. Bill and I are here, and
And I burped, so we had to record again.
He did. Yeah, he burped, and this was our second or third hit go and less than 10 seconds recorded, and then hit stop because I don't feel like editing the beginning of the episode. So with that, you're welcome for all the background of what occurs to get a podcast off the ground. This week, I wanted to talk about posture.
She'd had posture written on a notebook next to our recording station / dresser for 3 weeks, and I finally asked her what that meant.
What does posture mean? What how are we going to cover posture? So he asked, what is posture?
Are you going to the chiropractor or?
Yes. Maybe that's a topic down the line. But yeah, he asked what I meant by posture. And so I was kind of trying to capture my thoughts on that. And you have what, you might say is your typical meaning of the word posture. It's your physical, tangible demeanor. Are you very upright and looking someone in the eye? Are you very slouched and looking down, or a sort of timidity in your posture? Or is there a confidence in your posture? And that's that's kind of the standard definition of posture. But what I mean when I'm thinking about posture and what I want to talk about today is this sort of intangible energy, vibes that you bring to a space. And we sometimes can put ourselves in the mentor posture, or sometimes we put ourselves in the mentee posture. Sometimes we want to speak, sometimes we're ready to listen. So when
you're thinking of it as you do in terms of power dynamics, that's exactly what you're thinking about.
Yes.
In terms of the power dynamics in the room,
the power dynamics in relationship.
Your gut chakra energy on that.
Yeah. Yes, that's very much so. The energy that you're bringing when you're around other people, and how you what are your expectations going into a thing? Because a lot of the times when I have an engagement, or I'm getting together with someone, I do kind of think that I enter in I might have a different take on the posture. If this feels more like I'm going to be kind of guiding a conversation, or I'm seeking out this person for counsel, or I think there's there's kind of that hierarchical component to it. And then there's also when you're when there's not necessarily a clear delineation of someone is the teacher and someone is the student. They're with friendships, I think that there is actually a back and forth where someone takes the lead and someone follows. And in good friendships, it happens pretty darn naturally. Somebody has a preference.
Well, I don't want to say that it's a good thing that if it happens naturally, because I do think friendships require intention.
Yeah.
And because you and I both have the same bad habit of just taking charge of a room.
Yeah.
And we kind of walk into any situation expecting to be the one in power in the room. We both had to be deliberate about not bowling people over.
Yes.
Because nobody likes that guy.
Yeah.
All the time anyway. Nobody likes that guy. And this is something that we've had to spend a lot of time thinking about, because we spent so much time in community, in intentional Christian community groups, which are formal but also friendship driven. So we have to really monitor
and in non-Christian groups our alumni friend circle.
Those are all true, but those are all we're trying to draw out of the Christian community aspect is the intention behind it.
Oh, okay.
That we are being friends on purpose,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah.
are gardening, we're cultivating this relationship in a deliberate way.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sitting at the front of the room, because I'm the quote unquote group leader,
Mhm.
but I'm also trying to connect with you as a person. And how do I,
And how do you not, like, be in the lead?
mhm.
And, yeah.
Yeah, how do I lead but not lead? How do I, conduct myself in a way that um, I'm still a person? Uh,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
that's getting a little bit of feel, but that's something that because we've been in those roles, we had to really think about, because of our natural inclination just to bowl people over, but also uh,
Are you saying bowl people up like
bowl, like,
bowling?
yeah, like bowling.
Oh, okay, now I figured it out. I'm
It's a
picturing
figure
a
of speech
bowl,
that
like a
exists.
salad bowl,
Is that a figure of speech?
and then I'm thinking
Let
of
us know on our
bowl,
Instagram
and
at
then
nuanced_beauty if you've used the phrase bowl somebody over.
yeah, and then I'm thinking, like, bowl someone over, which would make sense to me because, like, a bowl, like,
Because you're
horns and fury.
from Missouri. Yeah.
Whatever.
But uh, this is something that uh, we've had to really be intentional about because of that community group, but also, uh, I had a friend. I have a friend who at one point was going through a really hard time in his life, and he was seeing counseling. It was a relationship thing, and uh, for a season, I was very much in a posture of a counselor towards him.
Mhm.
Because his life was in shambles and he needed that. And I was asked to do that. And so for a
Mhm.
while, most of our conversations surrounded, how are you doing in this?
Uh-huh,
And how
and
do I
kind of
help you in
taking
this?
a lead
Taking very
role.
much a leadership role,
Yeah,
which
like,
was,
to provide some stability and a avenue for even talking about it.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, because as a man and as this specific man, he wasn't going to talk about anything vulnerable unless he was really put in a position where he had to.
Mhm.
And he had to in
Mhm.
this situation. And I was asked to be the person who pushed that,
Yeah.
and to kind of put maybe my needs as a friend to the side, because I wasn't there. Obviously, I was there as a friend, but I wasn't there as an equal friend. I was there as a leader in those situations,
Mhm.
and that was the case kind of for a while, almost 2 years, I think. I really kind of sat in that role, and they got better. He got better,
Mhm.
and it was an amazing thing watching him grow through this. But it got to a point that, like, I don't
I don't need to fill
I
this
don't need to
role as
do
strong. I
this.
don't need to be, like, leading every like, yeah,
Yeah,
or feel like I'm walking into this feeling this expectation on my shoulders
yeah.
that I'm leading our
We aren't
conversations.
being friends. I'm fulfilling the office of friendship, which is a different situation, even though you're using the same words. And I felt like we couldn't continue to be friends if that was the dynamic. And I've
Mhm.
really talked to him about this. Um,
Wait, you said you never
I never,
have?
no,
Oh,
I never
okay.
really did. This was just something I considered and then did something about.
Mhm.
Where I'm like, this is unsustainable. Because eventually everyone outgrows their leadership if they continue to grow, and he was. So I'm like, I need to change my posture towards this relationship. And part of that was physical, as you're saying. Like, how do you stand? How do you conduct yourself? What vibrations are you putting in space? I joke about vibes, bro, but I think it's a real thing.
Uh-huh.
But also, like, how I talked through this, how I started asking him for help on things,
Mhm.
or in the way that men do, giving honor to him by being vulnerable about stuff I was going through.
Mhm.
I can't think of anything in particular. I would make shit up. Doesn't matter. I was like putting stuff to him, like, I need help with this.
Yeah.
Can you speak into this?
And if you
Trying to, like, restore balance to the force,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and we're still friends now, and I think we wouldn't be had I still tried to, like, maintain this leadership position, because everybody's gonna start pushing up against this informal leadership eventually.
Yeah, or it,
And
it will end up, yeah, I think it will eventually end up feeling professional or
mhm,
distant or like
yeah,
rigid or in a box, something like that.
or a bit patronizing eventually,
Yes, yeah.
uh, and I didn't want that. I wanted my friend back, and so I was very deliberate about, like, no, this time I'm not going to push into this thing, or I'm not going to offer advice on the thing,
Mhm.
even though I was asked to. That was 2 years ago. I'm not going to, like, pontificate into something.
Uh-huh.
Um, we're just going to be,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna, and if you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. So it wasn't just that I just, like, stopped talking, but I was deliberate about changing and kind of, in a way, making myself less so that he could make himself more, and we could be more equal in our friendship.
Right.
And
And I think that like a component to this and why I like this topic is because you're kind of that idea of you're drawing a circle around yourself and you're seeing what you can address. And
hmm
I think that analyzing your own posture is something that you have the like that's in your realm of control.
hmm
And no one can see that. I mean, they can feel it, and you can have thriving or failing friendships or relationships, not just friends. Like it's more than just the friend component because of that. And I think that, like for me, an example that came to mind was a girlfriend who is likewise a very confident and very
bullish.
accomplished, yeah, very confident gal. And so we both like want to be in that confident, competent role. And neither of us
There could only be one strong woman in a friend group.
neither of us could kind of like I think as I like go back and like okay this is where I can say that I failed in friendship because I couldn't see this posture, this stance that I was holding was too similar to another stance. And as we were prepping, you gave this lovely marine engineering metaphor that I'm just gonna have call you out to give because I think
No
it's
one's gonna get
entertaining.
this.
That's okay. They'll learn something about marine engineering.
So in power generation on ships, you have diesel generators that provide power to the vessel, and the generators are controlled by a governor. The governor makes the engine go exactly 60 revolutions, or provides 60 hertz of power. You know, whatever, 700 revolutions per minute. But it's putting out 60 hertz of power. So the power oscillates 60 times a second. So that's what a hertz is. But if both generators are trying to put out exactly 60 hertz with no room for just smudge on either direction, they're going to start fighting against each other because they're not going to be perfect because they aren't going to be perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. So you're going
Mhm.
to have 60.01 and 59.0.99, and
Mhm.
they're going to be overcorrecting for that small difference, and then you see the governor just going back and forth
Like
with one
wobbling.
another. So what you actually need for a harmonious engine room is to have one generator say, "No, we're going 60 hertz, damn it," and the other one being like, "We can do
All right,
60-ish.
man.
We can do 60-ish."
Okay.
And so one generator will sit pretty rock solid, and the other one will. You kind of hear it kind of rev up and down, maybe a little bit. And we're talking about fractions of a fraction of a hertz here.
Mhm.
It's a little knob on the governor called the droop setting,
Uh-huh.
uh, because there's all kinds of things in marine engineering that sound vaguely dirty. So droop.
True.
Um, and so what you need for two generators to get along is for one just to be kind of
The droop.
the droop. And in our relationship, I'm the droopy one. Um,
Not
which
always.
is it's
Not
true in
always.
every passing year, things are just drooping
With age.
with age. But it's required. What you're experiencing,
Yeah,
which is
we were experiencing the
neither of you
lack
would
of
droop.
droop.
You're experiencing a lack of droop.
Yes. So it's yeah, I think that that is something that I reflected on and kind of taken away from that. But while we're talking about droop and we're talking about age, that was another point that I wanted to draw out.
Oh, segues,
Yeah, that was pretty good, right?
right?
Uh-huh.
So like we did it on purpose.
Almost, but
We did.
we
We
didn't
did.
do that
No,
one
we
on
didn't do it on
purpose.
purpose.
Um
Take credit. Take the credit.
yeah, right. No, I'm thinking on the fly. The age, right? So I think that when we're talking about posture, some folks will enter into a relationship and they will define their posture based on who's the eldest. And yes, there is a lot of wisdom and experience that comes with age, and we can respect our elders and we can learn from our elders. But I think that we can't only account for someone's age and assume that they are
I think what you're trying to say is age ain't nothing but a number, baby.
sure.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Just because someone's older doesn't mean they're more wise, and just because someone's younger doesn't mean they're dumb. And that's something that we're starting to experience as we're running into friends who are younger than us for the first time.
Mhm.
And we're like, oh, you're in your 20s, you've been married 2 years. I need to now be in mentorship over you, and
And
that's not
feeling but
true.
feeling a sense of mentorship, but also, like, but I don't want that to be it. I don't want
Yeah,
that to be the only thing. Like, I want us to connect, and I want to be able to learn from them too,
yeah.
and not just think that this is a
But you need
mentorship.
to do that intentionally, or else
Yeah.
it's just gonna
It's gonna
happen.
miss the mark.
It's gonna
Yeah.
and uh, again, that friendship can only last for so long because it's really hard to change postures once you start.
Yeah.
That's something I was able to work through in the story I told earlier, but
Mhm.
it's also something that we just read a book about. I don't know if you want to jump into that already, but
Sure.
the book on parenting we read, this Andy Stanley book on parenting, which spoilers, it's
That's gonna be our book rec.
gonna be our
Yeah.
book rec. It's a short book. Go
But
for it.
so
But
yeah, he specifically does he refer to it as postures, correct?
mm-mm,
Or no? Okay, so
I
maybe he
don't
doesn't
think
use the
so.
word posture, or maybe he
But
did.
he accurately identified. He described the thing we're talking about. Whatever. Everything else is
Yes.
just words.
So the next component is your posture between a parent child relationship. And this like, first off, a parent child relationship is a specific relationship. It's a unique relationship, but he kind of challenges the parent child relationship to not only look like a disciplinary thing. And he had a very cool structure of 0 to 5 years kind of representing the discipline. Is that correct?
Hmm.
And then 5 to 12 years representing the teaching, like teaching and training. And then like 12 to 18 years um,
Coaching,
coaching, maybe
which
some
is it's different than
counseling.
teaching, but similar.
Yes, yes. Giving more room, more autonomy is really
Yes,
the big thing.
yes.
Giving more autonomy in those teen years. And then the 18 plus being friendship.
Hmm.
And like, this could be not like, again, this is not like firm guidelines,
Age ain't
dates.
nothing but a number.
Uh-huh. But
The
if the
postures need to
parent
change.
child relationship remains where the parent cannot see you as a friend when you're an adult, it's a very toxic relationship.
Or even if your kid, the one of the refrains in there is that your child's relationship with you is different than your relationship with your child,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going to grow and their postures are going to change. So they're going to learn things and mature. And as adults, we're adults and we don't think of ourselves as changing as much. And the book challenges you to do is change your posture towards your child because they're going to change theirs towards you because they're going
Mhm.
to learn and grow and they're going to start pushing back on things. And you can either try to maintain that level of discipline that you had when they were 4 all the way
Uh-huh.
up through 14 and more,
Mhm.
and completely alienate your child,
Mhm.
or you can change your posture, say okay, you have earned the right to not be disciplined in the same way that you did when you were 4. Now I'm going to teach you, to take more of this teacher role and change your posture.
Mhm.
um not to completely spoil the book, it's not a long book, you should read it anyway, because we're going to screw it up.
Yeah, this is just one chapter, and yeah.
Hmm.
But
There's also a long chapter about being nice to your spouse.
there
There
is.
is.
There is a
You read
long
it?
chapter. I did.
Did you?
I don't remember
I know.
it. You're so rough. um and then yeah, I think, well, shucks. I'm trying to think of if I had an additional point beyond that with the posture and the parent child and the friendship kind of posture.
Well,
And go ahead.
lastly, and you can keep thinking and not listening to me, but the last point that they kind of make, not last point, the point to make throughout is the friendship phase of your relationship with your child is going to be much longer than any other phase. So
Mm.
to begin with the end in mind, the goal, as the author sees it, is to be able to have a healthy friendship with your child when they're older. Raise kids that you want to be friends with,
When they're adults.
uh,
Yeah.
and also be able to change your posture so that you can be friends with them, and not when they're in their 30s still trying to be in even a coaching role at that point.
Mhm.
Can you be friends? You can
Oh
coach
my
your
gosh, but
friends.
even think about that, like trying to be a parent acting like a coach 30 when they're married.
Hmm.
Oh, talk about getting a bad rep as an in-law. Like, that
Yeah.
just like really doesn't
Hmm.
work, because it kind of erodes the micro family unit
Yeah.
when parents kind of are in a different, in that sort of posture.
The whole sitcoms were based off this.
Yes, that's a good point.
Everybody Loves Raymond's terrific show.
Um, but yeah, I think
Do we need a sitcom of the week too? Because I feel like I reference
you do
sitcoms.
reference sitcoms. Ah, that really, I mean, that really covers it. I guess I don't know if this is a topic that other people have thought about or if this is just out of left field. I hope that it kind of like it gives you something to think about and think about various relationships, right? Like the takeaway here is like whether it's a parent, a family, a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a friendship.
Hmm.
Do you have some flexibility in what posture you take?
Hmm.
And are you even paying attention to yourself and the energy and the dynamic or the demeanor that you're bringing into that one-on-one or that group setting?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's, are you even paying attention?
Mhm.
And do you realize that you can change you?
Mhm.
Um, that's not 100% true, but you can change your posture. You can have some intention
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
it. So that's, I think that's the big takeaway here.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick
I
it
think
over
that's a
to
wrap.
our let's kick it over to our book recommendation.
Bye guys.
All right, this is the part of the podcast where we recommend a book for this week.
Yes, and as a reminder, the intent is not necessarily to make this a book club or that you read every single book we suggest every week.
No, that'd be entirely too many books. All this is just coming from the fact that a lot of the conversations we've had and the conversations that we've wanted to share have come from books that we've read and topics that we enjoy. So, with all the books out there, sometimes it's hard to choose what you like. So, this is our contribution.
Yeah, and we generally hope that it ties in a little bit with the episode. All right. The book recommendation this week is Parenting Getting It Right by Andy and Sandra Stanley. So, the it that they're talking about in the subtitle is getting the relationship right. In our house, we've got an almost 2-year old. So that feels extremely far away from this. But then we've got a very smart 6-year old that is definitely stretching our abilities at parenting and figuring it out. But I think with that, we're kind of maybe sensing that that idea that we talked about in this episode, the initial kind of more disciplinary and kind of a little more leaning into the teaching aspects and training aspects of this like elementary age thing. And um, we've got a long way to go before we're, in high school or even empty nester years when our kids are out of the house. And it's a neat concept to consider being intentional in trying to raise your kids so that you want to be friends with them when they're an adult. Um, but yeah, I would say that we are definitely sensing that tension of our discipline tactics not being as productive as we want them to be. And we also want to get to the heart and the motivation behind the actions when our kiddo really tests us. Um, and I think that this book provided some solid application along with just kind of those guidelines for um, how to relate with your child along the years and kind of flexibly changing. And then also just deciding on a house, like what are your house rules and guiding principles, and then how do you apply like teachable moments or counseling moments, and they gave some fun stories. Like I want to say that Sandra had her kids after disobeying, they had a babysitter and they disobeyed the babysitter, or just it was a very difficult night. Rather than the next morning, just taking away TV or taking away a toy, she got really creative and she had them buy thank you cards and flowers with some of their piggy bank money. And they had to go deliver these flowers to the babysitter and apologize for the way they acted. And it's just one example of how to apply that. um and there were many other great examples of parenting and like house rules, like keeping it simple. I would say they sort of focused in on, I think, disobedience and disrespect, and I think dishonesty. I think Yeah, I think that they kind of like created some non-negotiables in their parenting, and their non-negotiables were disrespect, dishonesty, and disobedience. And out of that, they came up with some house rules. And the two house rules that they laid out was honor your mother and never tell a lie. And you can kind of see where both of those house rules get at the heart of maintaining a relationship. Because if you're going to lie, right, that's people don't want to be friends with you if you're a liar. It's breaking trust and it's going to fail eventually. And the idea of honor your mother, that's kind of, I mean, that's showing respect, but also by following that rule, you're following the house rule. And then, of course, you are probably going to um, pass that honor forward to other people that you're in relation with. So, with that, I would say, Parenting, Getting It Right by Andy and Sandra Stanley was an excellent book. And if you're in the parenting stage, go give it a read. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you aren't already following us, please follow us on your Spotify or Apple Podcast account. And look us up on Instagram at nuance_beauty. Until next week.